Okay, so we're back. So we got two drivers out of this thing, and let's look at and find out what we've discovered and what we learned. So the first thing is, good news is these are name brand drivers. Doesn't surprise me. Drivers are a big deal for all cab manufacturers. It's one of the things that players are most recognized in terms of brands and names and that sort of thing. So it doesn't surprise me at all that they didn't use a good, well-known manufacturer of drivers. It also doesn't surprise me that these are soldered. And the problem with that is that if one of these drivers fails and you're on tour, you're out on a gig, you might have pretty poor circumstances or poor environment to work on this thing. And it's one thing if you're a big group, got a bunch of techs running around, you just hand them the cab, and you go to the after-hours party and let them deal with it. But we know that that's not the case for most musicians. So if you're going to repair this, you better have your soldering gun, snips. You better be able to strip these leads the whole 9 yards. It's really going to be a pain in the butt. So on all of our cabs we use quick disconnects. They fit very securely. They're industrial manufactured, color-coded leads. You won't have any problem swapping a driver out. The other funny thing was, remember how I pointed out there were only 4 fasteners per driver? Well, on this driver, 2 of the T-nuts in the back came out, which is that's a problem, because that means when you put this driver back in, you're only going to have 2 bolts holding it in. So good luck with that. So what I want to do is I want to zoom in here, and I think you should be able to see what's going on inside, because now you can see the interior of the cab. And here's what we learned. We learned that the baffle is plywood, but everything else is MDF. So you can see all that in there. You'll notice they just really primitive cleats and everything that's going on in there. And then there's a brace there in the back that you can kind of see. That's all CNC routed out of MDF. Everything in the cab world these days, almost everything is made on CNC machines. So what's the problem with MDF? Well, the problem is a couple things. First off, it's really not all that strong. MDF, while it's very dense and very hard, and actually is a really good material for building home speakers because it sucks up a lot of acoustical vibration, MDF it's not very strong at all. So when you flex it, it'll crack. The other thing that's bad about MDF is if you get it wet, it'll saturate. So when MDF gets wet, man, it just expands and it plays heck with it. The third thing that's really bad about MDF is the weight. It's about 30% heavier than plywood, and it's far less structurally strong. So really, for a home audio kind of thing, it's wonderful. You can do some great shapes with it. It really routes well, really CNC the machines well. But for musical instrument speakers are going to take a lot of abuse. You would never want to use it, and that is the #1 reason why this is not what would be called a high-end or a ultra high-end guitar cab. Is none of the high-end manufacturers, unless they're creating some sort of bargain brand or some sort of lower price point brand, none of them are going to use MDF in their cabinet walls, and that's what this is. And this is all import MDF. It's probably loaded with formaldehyde and a bunch of other stinky stuff. And I feel sorry for the people that have to work with this every day, because they're probably not loving life too much. So now what we're going to do is we're going to flip the cab over. We're going to talk about some other features, and then we'll wrap it up.